What did the one teacher do to you, you'll never forget. At my high school, we had an annual week-long science trip, fully paid for by fundraising. Only 4 people were selected to go each year. My sophomore year, I was chosen. I knew there was no way I was going to be allowed to go. I'd never been out of the state, never been on a single vacation, never been on a plane, never been away from home for more than 24 hours. My parents were incredibly conservative and immediately said no. I had a science teacher who just didn't accept the no. Instead of just giving up and selecting someone else, he called and tried to convince my parents. When that didn't work, he came to my house and had dinner with my family to convince my dad that I would be an asset, and he would be doing me a disservice by not letting me go. He sat and ate my mom's terrible cooking and talked to my parents for over 2 hours until he got a will think about it. Then he just kept following up. I'd never had someone in my corner like that before, who was willing to go to bat for me like that. He wore them down, and it was the best week of my teenage life. I'd never seen the ocean 20 years later, and I can still recall every detail of that. It was a major pivot point for me. My physics teacher in high school hosted an annual trip to Walt Disney World in Orlando for 15-20 kids for over a week. I was one of the better and most interested students in his class. He was an incredible teacher who found examples in physics everywhere. He also used the work for Disney Priya to teaching. Since my family was not so well off and I could not afford the trip to Walt Disney World, I declined when he asked me if I was going to join. He probed a bit, and he somehow found the funds to have me join without me even inquiring. I don't know if he pulled school money or there was a surplus, but either way, that was one of my best memories from that school. I still keep in touch with him 15 years later. In high school, one of my teachers had this duckbill whistle, literally shaped like a duck's bill, and it made a quacking noise. She used it to get the class attention. One time I guess we were being extra rowdy, and she blew the ever-loving shit out of it, and the class went stone-dead quiet. She got this shocked look on her face, and then took her hairpin out and dropped it, and the whole class heard it hit the ground, and she got this big grin on her face, and we all just busted out laughing. I faked my way through 4th and 5th grade math. I never understood how to do long division, but managed to hide that from the teachers and answer test questions by reverse multiplication, basically guess a number and multiply it out and see how close I would get, and keep doing it until I got the answer. My 6th grade math teacher figured out that I was faking, and had no idea how to actually divide any. She had me come in one afternoon to help with cleaning the erasers. All the kids fought for this privilege, so I was thrilled. Sat me down and tutored me until I grasped the concept. Bless you, Gillespie. Made us make paper cranes for hall passes, ... 20 years later. I can still make a top-notch crane. 3rd grade, Miss John. My dad had just deserted us, and we were suddenly destitute. She bought my school pictures for us and paid my lunch bill all year. She never said a word about it, only found out later. Bless her. Not me, my brother. He had one of those haircuts that was popular in the mid-90s, where you have long fringe, maybe 5. But skinhead, the rest. He was a skateboarder. Anyway, the wood shop teacher decided that the haircut was a health and safety hazard and swiftly cut his hair in front of the whole class, meanwhile berating him kids today, etc., etc. My brother was 12 and came home from school crying. My father was less than pleased and apparently went up to school and made a right kerfuffle, as he should. My mother was very embarrassed by it all. I'll never forget. The professor I had for my Calculus 100 class in university was awesome. He was a good teacher and funny and engaging. If it was a first-year class with over 100 people in it, I was just a face in a big crowd. I was on campus after hours a couple of years after I graduated. They run programs for kids in the evenings and was dropping off my oldest. And I saw him. He stopped, looked at me hard, and said first name, last name. Not a bad student, not great, but definitely not bad, and kept walking. This was a good 6 years after I graduated. Absolutely amazed he would have remembered me at all after teaching how many hundreds of students in between. That is just crazy. When I was in 7th grade, there was a teacher at my school that was essentially a love child of Santa and an elf. Dude was 5'2", over 300 lbs, and had a beard that would put Jim Lee to shame. My first ever conversation with this man ended with him saying, "Now you go get yourself something to eat, big man." Shit caught me so off guard. I didn't realize what he had said until after I walked away. When I was in 3rd grade, the teacher of my gifted program class, extra class, we were pulled from mainstream to do a few hours a week, started berating me over raising my hand too quickly to answer questions, saying I needed to think longer and give others the chance to answer. She went on and on about how I had an attitude. I got upset, and she made me stand in front of the class when I started to cry. I know you're crying, and I don't care. It was my birthday. It was a class of about 8 students. One guy told me in high school that the day was one of his clearest memories from elementary school.